While reading this chapter of Vinland Saga, I really got this sinking feeling within my soul, just this pit of despair that is growing larger and larger as we get this parallel explanation both on Thorfinn's side and on the side of the natives as to what is happening with this disease that is spreading across the land here. Now, this chapter was actually pretty long. I think it was like 28 pages or something like that, where it kind of makes up for the short chapter we got in 201 that I think was only 8 or 9 pages long. So I think Yukimura was like, sorry about that. Here's an extra long chapter. And this chapter really needed to be that long because there is so much happening here that is building up towards the inevitability of chaos that we are going to get. And I think that, again, if you read all of this Vinland arc, if you read all of these chapters in a row, I think you see this kind of slow burn build of like this disaster that is happening. And it really is unfortunate because of just how much, I just want Thorfinn to be able to thrive. I want him to be able to accomplish his goals, but at every turn and every opportunity, another obstacle is in the way, which is the battle of a true warrior, right? And so in this chapter in particular, we are getting a lot of exposition about this disease that is spreading. And what I like about this is, one, a disease is something that you cannot fight. Like we don't have a laboratory where we can go and try to create some kind of cure here, back in Viking era times. Like there's just no way to be able to do that. So it really is something that is above and beyond what is preventable for these people. I mean, the only thing they can do is just try to be healthy and try to get their vitamin C and shit. Like there's nothing you can really do to kind of combat this. And so it really is an obstacle and a problem that Thorfinn really cannot solve. Like you can't solve it by talking, and obviously he would try to avoid fighting and avoid conflict to begin with. So what do you do in this situation? And the people in Marken kind of developed this same sort of problem with their lack of they had a lesser sense of communication with the tribe that was near them than I think Thorfinn and the Lanu have. I think that they were able to kind of like find a way to communicate a bit. We had like Niskalji and the other Thorfinn that have kind of learned a bit of each other's language, but not so much on the Marken side, not as much of an understanding. And so what happened was, they kind of brought this disease over, whether it was by the rats that were on the ship, and we already saw the disease that was spreading near the shore where Canute was just like kill everybody so that it doesn't spread. So that's one way to handle it. The other way that the tribe near the Marken settlement decided to handle it was to pelt them with arrows. Now, they weren't trying to kill these people. They weren't trying to kill them in the same way that Canute was when he pelted them with arrows. Instead, it was more of like a way to get them off of the shore, a way to get them to leave, because you can't communicate verbally. And also, they didn't want to get close to them because they didn't want to get that disease to spread even further. So, you can't get close to them. You can't tell them what you need to do. So instead, it's just like, let's just make it like so uncomfortable that they have to leave. One Markland survivor got left behind, and I'm actually a little bit curious as to how he got left behind, because if I'm reading the chapter right, he explains that he was talking about going back to Greenland, but then the other settlers left. So why did they leave him behind in particular? Was it just an accident, or, because I don't think that he has the disease himself, or if he does, it's not showing in any sort of like physical way. So I was a little bit confused as to why specifically this guy just happened to get left on the shore. I don't know. Maybe I kind of missed something in context. Someone can explain it to me, but anyways, he did get left behind, and he did his best to try to survive by himself. And it says that he actually did hear Thorfinn when Thorfinn showed up, and he was banging on the pot to try to like make noise, but he was too far away. He was up in a tree. Like, he just couldn't get there in time. So this guy's just dealt with a lot of shit, man. He's just a poor guy just trying to survive on his own. He's just like getting pelted with arrows. All of his crewmates left him. Like, this poor fucking guy. I hope he doesn't get sick, because that would just be the icing on the cake of this guy's like horrendous experience. But he's a survivor, man, and he's here and he's telling a story about what happened. And, Thorfinn's reaction to this is great too, because he realizes this is a disease. And you can just sort of see the thought process. Like, you can see like the mathematics in his head leading to like, how the fuck do I explain this? Like, how do I get around this, right? And then, of course, you have Ivyar, who is like, well, this kind of benefits us, right? Because if we're immune to the disease, which might not actually be the case, by the way, considering what happened with Canute and the people over there, like, they might not actually all be immune, so there is that. But also, he's just kind of like, well, that kind of solves our problem for us because they're all going to get sick and they're going to die and we're going to be okay, right? So this is great. And then, I can't remember this character's name, but it was the character that Thorfinn saved from Canute and brought onto his team, the guy with the big, long, bushy beard. A great big, bushy beard. If you know what that reference is from, then you're pretty awesome. But anyways, he comes over and he just punches Ivyar right in the face. He's just like, fuck you, dude. And that starts a little bit of a fight because Ivyar's, Stark is like, what the hell? And then Ivyar's other companion, gets into a fight with him. And there's that. But I think that scene really works because there's probably a lot of people that kind of want to punch Ivyar in the face at this point, even though I'm still kind of an Ivyar stan a little bit. I like Thorfinn more. I'm just saying, like, he makes some solid points sometimes, and I like the chapter that we got where we saw that, he doesn't want to be the cause of war. Like, if war happens, like, he's stoked about it, but like, he doesn't want to be that guy, and it's kind of like Stark is pulling the strings a little bit more as far as their dynamic goes. But I think that it makes sense for this guy to do that because he was already frustrated with Ivyar. And also, if I'm remembering the chapter right, I might be misremembering it a little bit, but he was going to get killed by Canute, if I remember correctly, and Thorfinn saved him. So he could have been somebody that was just offed, right? But it was because of Thorfinn, putting his neck out, and like Thorfinn, like literally like helped this dude. Right? And bettered his situation. So I think he sees this as, Ivyar just saying like, oh, fuck these guys, let them die. Well, this guy was also somebody that could have died and somebody helped him. Right? So I think that he's just kind of like looking at that, like maybe he senses that, kind of relation. Like he feels sort of like maybe there's something we can do. I don't know what it would be, but to just say like, it doesn't matter, that's kind of like a douchey asshole thing to say. And so he just kind of, clocks him. Now, on the flip side, we're also seeing the results of that at the tribe. And this is where things get really dark. Things get really fucking dark here because number one, you have the shaman who's got his little stump now. And he's talking about, like, in his mind, he's thinking, like, I'm going to use this as evidence for other tribes to show them that the Norsemen, need to go. Like, we need to get rid of them. They attacked me. So he's going to use it as sort of like a little fear tactic to put into the other tribes. Now, Pulmuk comes up and tells him about the disease that's spreading like through the tribe right now. It's spreading like crazy. Also, I don't know exactly what disease it is. Is it the bubonic plague or is it something else? I don't know. Somebody who's more of a history buff or more of a disease expert can tell me. But anyways, he comes there and there's a lot of tragedy happening right here. First of all, the most tragic thing, in my opinion, is that Nisqualji is sick. This is the other Thorfinns. This is Bug Eye's, like, little... Well, I don't know if they're, like, official, but, like, in my mind, I ship them, all right? All right, that's kind of his girlfriend. I don't know. They're cute together. I just want him to be happy, all right? And I want her to be happy, but she's sick, and that is horrendous, man. That just, like, pains me inside. Also, the chief of the tribe is sick and passes away. Now, this is horrendous for many, many reasons. I don't know who the authority falls to at this point, but if the shaman winds up being in charge, if he winds up being the guy that they go to for guidance now, they need an older, wiser, more experienced person. Well, you know what his goals and his intentions are. So now if they're looking to him for answers, his answers are going to be, we need to get rid of these fucking Norsemen, all right? Probably less vulgar than that, but, still. So there's that. And then you have Pamuk, who feels like it's his fault because he, like, breaks down and he starts saying, like, I got sick first, but I got over it, it doesn't necessarily kill everybody. Everyone's dealing with, some people get, like, really high fevers, some people are sick for a while, some die, but some do recover. And he's just like, I got it first. And so he feels responsible because he was probably the person that was closest with the Norsemen. He was like, hanging out with them, playing games together, obviously like physical contact, handshakes and, whatever else. Like, it just, he's like, fuck, like, this is my fault, right? And so what is that going to lead Pamuk to do? Because he's a pretty genuine kind of chill, guy. But now that if he has this responsibility and he sees the devastation right in front of him, could he be swayed in some way against the Norsemen in a more, I don't think he would go in like a violent rage or anything, but like he'd definitely be more swayed to the point of like, all right, I agree, like we got to get these guys out of here, So that could be, devastating within its own right. Seeing all the natives die is devastating. And then of course you have the shaman who, is going to go off and perhaps, like convince other tribes to kind of join their cause or see what's happening with them. And not to mention the fact, while all this is going on, we still have Hild, who is missing. And Hild is not necessarily on a murder mission, but potentially a murder mission because she wants to stop this conflict in its tracks, right? She already put the threat out to Ivyar, but then she ran off. And so, assumingly, next she's going to go towards the shaman, hunting him down. So, if she finds the shaman, like, I just, obviously, she's, shaman's down an arm, and he's old, right? So, Hilda's, got this covered, right? But depending on the situation that they find themselves in, especially now if the authority goes to the shaman, can you imagine if Hild shows up, threatens him, the tribe finds out, or even worse, it comes to blows and Hild either out of self-preservation or, accidentally kills him, makes him into some kind of beacon or martyr for the cause of this conflict. And it's sort of like both the shaman and Hild, by reason, and Ivyar too, by reason of attempting to stop the conflict before it starts, they inevitably are all the people that cause it to happen. And I don't know what that, I don't even know. I haven't even had time to process that in my brain about what that means thematically, because Ivyar brought the sword at an attempt and cut off the shaman. The shaman attacked Thorfinn with attempt to prevent this, to get them out of there. And then Hild, kind of made her threats in an attempt to prevent it, but now might inadvertently, she might get killed as well. And I think that if any character is on the chopping block, it probably is Hild. Check out a great video by Jarky Bacon, by the way, that made the video on why Hild is probably the most likely candidate to die, and I do agree with him. And I think that might be part of the situation. And then imagine if the Norsemen saw Hild's body, and I'm just like, I don't know, maybe I'm thinking too far ahead, and maybe I'm complicating this, but I think that these dominoes are falling in a way that it just is inevitable, right? And I keep thinking about the themes of Vinland Saga and the themes of, what does it mean to be a true warrior? What does it mean to find a way outside of violence? Is it inevitable that people will always, be in conflict with one another? And if you look at our world today, it's kind of like, well, it's never really stopped, right? So how Vinland Saga is going to end and how close it is to its ending, I'm just really curious about, because Yukimura said that it was nearing its end. But if we look at where the story is right now, this feels like it's reaching the peak of the roller coaster, and then it's all going to be downhill from there. So I don't know. I love this chapter, though. I'll end with that note, not making the review too long. I love this chapter. I love the ominous sort of foreboding darkness that is building here, and just Thorfinn's he is just so vastly unprepared for the situation that he's in. Because why would you be? There's nothing that would possibly prepare you for all of these events happening one by one. And that's what life is. You can't prepare for shit. Anyways, let me know what you guys thought of this chapter down below. Leave your thoughts, comments, opinions. Also, leave me your theories about what you think is going to happen next. This was great, man. I love this chapter. I love this series. I love you guys. Support the channel if you want to. Thumbs up, like, comment, channel memberships, Patreon, merch store, get a motherfucking Zod shirt. I don't know. I love you guys. Bye.